The following podcast is being brought to you by the Defy Life Podcast Network.
Welcome to Aftergate, powered by the Defy Life Network.
Are y'all ready?
Aftergate is a podcast series highlighting Colgate alumni of color in their professional endeavors aftergate.
Are y'all ready?
Aftergate is hosted by Alvin Glimpf, aka Al, and Herman Dubois, aka Jerry.
Are y'all ready?
We are doing Aftergate because Colgate University has produced innovators who have changed the world every day, yet many alumni of color and the mainstream Colgate community are unaware of the amazing accomplishments of alums of color.
Are y'all ready? Welcome. This is your boy Al. This is another episode of Aftergate Season 2, Alvin Glimpf. And yes, I am just full of energy, hyped. Spirit feels good. Looking forward to this conversation. Coming off a great week, a great weekend. So I am just the momentum, the energy is just flowing, coming out of my pores. So I'm excited to be here to have this conversation of Aftergate. And as always, I am joined by my co-host, Mr. Dubois. How are you doing, sir?
Feeling blessed as always, brother. I have to admit that you got to give a little information as to why you rolling on this natural high, because you came in as the setup king, and really just is contagious. It's contagious through the wavelengths. It's contagious through broadband, and that although we're in different states, I have to feed off of that, and thank you, because I was able to be a part of that energy that was manifested this past weekend. Although it was great to be back in the Sunshine State, in the warmth, it was a blessing to be back up north, up in Hamilton, and doing our thing, and working with both faculty and students of color, as well as alumni council, as well as some of the alumni legends, Leroy Potts. Beautiful opportunity to rock with him. And so yeah, man, just this feeling off that vibe, that energy, that momentum into this week, into this month.
So let me just back up, because before I even made it to Hamilton, I was able to stop in New York and see my fam in Queens and Brooklyn. And it was awesome because I hadn't been home in 2.5 years. And just to have that the feeding of my soul by visiting not just my family, but just where I was born, was a beautiful thing, and something that I sorely missed and looking forward to get back. And then, to your point, to go up and experience Aftergate Live, our first live recording on Colgate's campus. That was awesome. The energy that we received from the students, the response of the students was phenomenal. Looking forward to continuing to engage with them. And then even the message that I received during my alumni council meetings. I was intentional in remembering this message, because I want to deliver that to our listeners. And it's this idea that the Colgate of our day is not the Colgate of today, and then it's definitely not going to be the Colgate of the future. That message is something that we need to amplify, because so many of us, as we've heard through these shows, have not had the best of experiences while they were there. We've talked very transparently that part of this is not just about engaging with alumni amongst alumni, but we trying to get folks back on campus to engage with this institution, so that when we get back there, we can have the fullest, most colorful, the true color experience of Colgate. You know what I mean?
Lovely. That was lovely.
All right. So for those who are new, because I'm sure we got some new listeners, man, we had people watching the Zoom link. We had a Zoom link when we were recording live, so we might have some new listeners here. So let me do my best to remind folk what Aftergate is all about. For those who are new, Aftergate is just a weekly podcast where we were interviewing alumni of color. We want to document, amplify their experiences after Colgate, get a sense of what their journey has been like since they graduated. And in the process, we're also going to delve into what their experience was like before they got on campus, and then while they were even on campus. People have been rocking with us from the beginning, even though we got some, people jumping on the bandwagon, but we don't mind that, because we got plenty of room. Let's do this.
Our wagon is big.
Our wagon is big. All right. So come on, jump on this train, because we rolling. All right. So ready to bring in our guests?
Let's do it. Let's do it. Looking forward to meeting this brother.
Okay. Aftergate listeners, Aftergate fans, supporters, we are officially welcoming to the Aftergate podcast a good brother, Mr. Jamil Jude.
What up, y'all? Thank y'all for having me on, man. I love that introduction too. That's some good stuff right there.
Hey, brother, we are doing some good things, and that's what it's all about, honestly. This has just been a journey, a process of lifting up these stories, telling these stories, and people have enjoyed it. And I think the most powerful word I've heard so far is meaningful. And to have your work, your efforts be meaningful, that's kind of what I'm looking for in this world, is to have meaning. So yeah, I'm glad to be here. Glad to be here with you.
Yeah, certainly. Thank y'all.
So, let's rock with it. What, you graduated 2009?
Yeah, 09. Yep.
Class of 09, meaning you graduated high school in 2005.
Right.
So give us a sense of what's going on in your world in 2005. What's going on in the world, if you can remember, in 2005. Set the context of what the world is like so we can get a sense of, as you're coming into Colgate, who that dude is when he comes into Colgate.
Yeah. 2005, man, fashion was stupid, crazy. Atlanta was big in the hip hop music scene. So coming from the South, I felt like, we were what was holding up Black culture. That's Jermaine Dupri, that's Ludacris, that's Jeezy, Gucci, Pet Shop Boys snapping and stuff like that. So definitely me and a lot of my other Southern friends, we felt like, we knew what the vibe was. But also at the time in 2005, I remember I went up early for football. Hurricane Katrina had just hit when we were in fall camp. So I also remember the world shifting a little bit. Kanye at the time, was being praised for calling out George Bush, saying George Bush don't care about Black people. So that was really the context in which I came up to Colgate, right? Like I had never been that far north for that extended period of time before I had been to New York City and stuff like that, but understanding that Colgate is further north than that. So here I am, Southern kid, raised in the South, born in the U.S. Virgin Islands. So even my Southern experience was filtered through that of not necessarily like an immigrant, but somebody who was being acculturated to the South. But by the time I got to Colgate, I felt fairly Southern. But moving to Colgate and then having my Black experience, both my Caribbean experiences, I had more Caribbean students I was able to be around, so that was affirmed, but also feeling, okay, there are a lot of white kids here who don't understand what it means to be a Black Southerner. Their experiences with Black people have been wholly different, especially a lot of the white kids who were going to, prep schools or who were in some suburban communities where there were maybe just a couple of Black kids who grew up in those communities and had a different relationship to their Blackness than what I had, growing up in a town like Tallahassee, Florida, that was literally a railroad track divided the HBCU from the predominantly white institution. So I had a different relationship to it, and it really all came to a head, my first weeks or so on the football team.
Okay, so you're coming out of Tallahassee to Hamilton, New York. Okay, it doesn't get much different than that.
Yeah, man, it was crazy.
Give us a sense of what that transition like, because I forgot you were on the football team.
Yeah. Like I remember like one practice, it's just being so cold. Like we had an early morning practice and they had just issued us our cold gear. Now, also I have to say that like Colgate athletics is so much more advanced now here in the 2022 than it was in 2005. So we had just got issued our cold gear. And I remember, it's 40 something degrees on a cold summer morning in Hamilton. I'm like, yo, I got to put on my long sleeve because I've never played football in anything lower than 60 degrees. Right. So I remember having my long sleeve on, and Coach Biddle, who was the coach at the time, coming over to me and telling me that I had to get rid of that stuff or I won't make it here long. He was right on both of those things. But it was, I think for me, it was just really just a culture shock. I had never been on a team with that many white people before, white people in general. But I think more than anything, it was, okay, this is big time college football, at least for how I was concerned. I was there to try to prove myself and also trying to figure out what is this thing, what is a team of 90 people? I was coming from teams of 40, 40, 50 at max, going to a small school in Tallahassee. So I think all of that was an acculturation process. And, I've never been quiet. I joke and say that I'm shy because I do have a little bit of shyness, but I've never been quiet. So just trying to find my place inside of that. How can I be who I am, show up, compete, but also still try to learn the ropes?
So I'm curious, how did you even hear about Colgate?
Yeah.
So Colgate initially had sent me like a brochure. I went to a Black high school, but I was part of like the International Baccalaureate program, right? So I went to like a academically rigorous program inside of that Southside High School. So they were sending me things on the academic side, since my freshman year or something like that, but I really wasn't paying it attention. And it wasn't until a football recruiter came down and was talking to me about it. And I remember receiving the package that I went back through all this like academic stuff that I was holding. And I was like, oh man, like I've heard of Colgate before. But my guidance counselor at the time did not really let me entertain any other football offer. Once Colgate said, hey, we want you to come and play football, and they offered me a financial aid package, she was really like dead set, encouraging my mother, like, hey, here's the best academic school of the football opportunities that he has. And at that time, 18-year-old Jamil in 2005, all I wanted to do was play ball. I had opportunities, full ride scholarships, academic scholarships to University of Miami, Georgia Tech, Tulane, kind of, University of Florida. Really, if I wanted to go someplace, I was going to be able to do it, especially in the South. But those opportunities weren't there to play ball. And that's what I knew myself as at the time. So that was really how Colgate got on my radar. The football recruiter coming down made me take a different look. And then my guidance counselor saying like, hey, here's the best mix of academics and that sport thing that you like to do.
Yeah. We've that story has been echoed quite a few times of sort of the misunderstanding, and yet the context of what you thought you understood what college ball would be like and what D1 meant versus D2 or 3 in real translation and in real life. So I'm curious, you get to Colgate that summer, I guess, before semester starts and all, but then you transition. Where did you live in the 4 years of Colgate? What were your residential experiences, including your summer in summer? So where did they put y'all up in the football program?
Oh shit, where did they put? Excuse me, Scott. Sorry. Where did they put us up? I think we were in like Drew, by the clock tower. The first year, so walking down and up the hill for camp. But my first 2 years, I was in the HERC. I was in the HRC, Harlem Renaissance Center. Loved it down there. Had a single my freshman year. Had a double as a single my sophomore year. And I loved just living in the HRC, man. Like that was where it was at. My third year, I moved downtown, lived in Newell, or down the hill. Then senior year, I was in Parker.
Okay.
Parker.
Shout out to Parker 121.
Everybody got their stories. So when you reflect on, the entire Colgate experience, academic, athletic, social, spiritual, physical, the weather, all that. What do you identify as your accomplishments or those highlights? And sort of, there's no real criteria to this. Anything could be a highlight and accomplishment. We've heard some really amazing ones that caught me off guard, and I've heard some of the traditional ones. So, curious, what do you classify as accomplishments and highlights?
Yeah. A lot of it was outside of the classroom. Again, I never really felt Colgate was academically challenging for me. I went there to be pre-med, I wanted to major in biology and minor in Spanish. I joke with my mother and say, well, I did what I said I was going to do. I majored in a language and I minored in a science. It just happened to be English and chemistry by the time I got done, as opposed to biology and Spanish. I think my major accomplishments really were what ultimately it feeds my career now. My freshman year, I got hurt early in my football career. And I think at that point I was recognizing, there are a lot of people that are much, much better than me at ball. But there was a former football player. His name is Will Arnold. He lives in Atlanta now. He's actually a lawyer. But Will, he wrote this play. He co-wrote this play, wrote this play called Ransom. And in my freshman year, so 2005, he was like, hey, if you got some time, if you're not traveling with the team, I think you should be in this play. And it was a play about racial tensions in the South. And he set it up where this really racist sheriff had his daughter kind of upset at the way he was as a person, a mean person, ran away from him. And I played this investigator, this detective, trying to figure out where she was because a ransom note was left by two Black guys who say, we'll give your daughter back if you meet these demands. And they didn't even have her. They just took advantage of the situation and was trying to get some changes in the city. And at that point, I talked to y'all a little bit and saying that, like, here I am trying to speak to my teammates about, like, what I feel about race and racism and all these problems that are happening, why George Bush ain't good for Black people, but like kind of going in one ear, out the other. They really hadn't been adept at those types of conversations. And I was learning how to have those conversations with people who didn't grow up in a Southern context. So seeing that play and then discussions that were happening around it, seeing people immediately be impacted by Will's story, like that stuck with me to the point where I just started to find ways to stay around urban theater. Will produced it through urban theater. So I had a teammate, Raymond Taft, who's from Philadelphia, now lives in Oregon. But Taft also was in the theater department. So Taft kept me, said, hey, we need you to write. Rodney Mason, who was over Urban Theater at the time, kept me trying to write. So I started writing my story. So by my junior year, I had this play called Dark Brown Eyes, playing 4 seasons. And that probably was like my biggest accomplishment because I was able to write a play and act in it and put it on and people came to see it. That inspired me to write my second show while I was still at Colgate called Ballot versus State. So Dark Brown Eyes was just about like stories me and my friends had collected over the years. And it was about a college kid who we see him go through 4 seasons of a year, maybe his senior year, and the things that he went through in college. My second show, Ballot versus State, was about a case that happened in Georgia about an athlete who was falsely accused of rape and what happens when people kind of get thrown into the system. I was able to partner with the Women's Studies Department, and we had some brown bag lunches, got education department and other people together, and we had like a series of talks. So people had to go and see the show and then attend the brown bag talk back. So just like being able to say, we can put on art and we can talk about it and we can use art to inspire social action or to change learning. And that's exactly what I do now through the work in the theater. So I would say that was my biggest accomplishment. If I had to say something social, my senior year, I was able to convince the Greek life department, the dean of the college, and amongst others, Alana, to throw what was called Jude Week 2K8. It was a celebration of my birthday. I got a whole week of events for my birthday. We had champagne. We had a champagne brunch on a Sunday. We did Monday Night Football in the coop. Got wings. We rented out the movie theater downtown on a Wednesday. Watched Mo Better Blues. We threw a party on a Friday or something like that. But yeah, I was able to get a lot of people to pay a lot of money just for me and my friends to celebrate my birthday all week. So Jude Week 2K8. That was maybe my best social accomplishment. But
that might be the best. That might be the best social accomplishment we done heard in Aftergate's history.
yeah, that's right.
I think it might still be a Facebook event.
I don't know how many people can claim that. A lot of people can claim that they celebrated for a week, but they can't claim that Colgate sponsored them in doing such. That might go down as top 3 social events in recorded AOC history.
Without a doubt.
Yeah. I mean, big shout out to Thomas, who was running the Dean Johnson.
I remember him.
Timothy Mansfield.
Yep, I remember him too.
I was lucky enough to get a lot of people supporting me in what I was doing out there at Colgate, who believed in me, knew I was out here just playing around, but I wrote a good proposal.
Hey, you a writer, right? So that's what you do.
So we're gonna stop right there, take a pause for the cause, give some love to our sponsor, and we'll be back to wrap up this conversation and go more into what Jamil is doing right now, right after this break. So this episode is sponsored by Hope Murals. Hope Murals is a nonprofit that provides adolescent youth with an interactive experience of creative expression via an urban arts platform that stimulates both mental and physical development. Please visit their website at www.hopemurals.org to learn more and find ways you can support the work they do. Welcome back. As always, before we jump into the second half of this interview, just want to make sure we thank our sponsor, Hope Murals. We definitely appreciate all that you're doing. Shout out to Hope Murals, what y'all are doing in terms of exposing our youth to urban arts, as well as development and helping them be better people. Check them out, hopemurals.org. Find out more information. If you're interested in being a sponsor, hit us up with an email at aftergatepodcast@gmail.com. And as always, we want to show some love to our network, www.godefylife.com. That's where you'll find out more information on the Defy Life Network. You'll find some real interesting, empowering, relevant, and written content. So make sure you show some love there. And just a reminder, we are on all of your favorite podcast streaming services, from Apple Pods, Spreaker, Spotify, iHeart. You can find Aftergate. So, Jerry, if you can bring us back into our conversation and ask the next question.
So as we resume the second half of the show and get back to the journey of Colgate life and post-Colgate life, we definitely would love to get your perspective on subject matter that is near and dear to my heart, and that I think in many ways was, comes out of the Colgate experience, inspired by the Colgate experience. And so you referenced earlier your experience in pre-season training camp and coming up as a Black man from Tallahassee into the Colgate environment, into the Colgate community, and then how that just sort of set forth a lot of different sort of elements of growth for you as a man of color in a predominantly white institution. But talk a little bit about, so how does all of that tie into what you do now as a creative? So now you have the student athlete experience, you emerge into this professional creative. How do you sort of make the ties between your own journey, the issue of race? Now everyone's talking about it from a DEI perspective, diversity, equity, and inclusion, and how that plays into your sort of vision as a creative, and how do you engage and inspire young people to buy into the understanding of this storytelling that I think in many ways has been lost in our society?
Yeah, I've been doing a lot of work around like values, right? How do you live in alignment with your core values? And one of my core values is artist action, right? How do I use my art to inspire social action? And I think that it has been a value since my time at Colgate. I talked about earlier about how partnering with urban theater and women's studies and education departments and things like that meant so much to me, and it become a through line throughout the entirety of my career. Because of the way I was introduced into theater, I wasn't introduced to it as art for art's sake. I was never really interested in fluff and fare that was for diversionary purposes. I was always interested in art that at the end of it, you were hoping that audience members were changed, or that audience members felt affirmed, challenged in a specific way. And that's what continues to happen with the work I do at True Colors Theater in Atlanta, Georgia. We believe that we thrive at the intersection of artistic excellence and civic engagement. Artistic excellence at the beginning, because we are a theater, we are a top level theater. And I make my living in delivering really great art, but also the art can't be divorced from what's happening in the world around us. And for me, especially in a city like Atlanta, where we still have a majority Black population, my theater is a Black-led, Black-run, Black-founded theater company. My audience is 85% Black. So if we're going to be talking to Black people and representing Black people, we have to make sure that we're focused on issues that are affecting that community. For example, I'm in Georgia. Georgia, thankfully helped flip the Senate in a way that allowed for, I guess we all wished for more progress, but definitely some progress. It allowed us to definitely get Judge Ketanji Brown, right, Jackson to into her Senate seat. Into her Supreme Court justice seat, excuse me. So we're excited by that. And also Raphael Warnock, one of our senators, is up for re-election this fall. And if we all harken back to 2018, Stacey Abrams lost a really close contested race to the person who was running the election, right? Kemp at the time was the Secretary of State of Georgia. So he was over the voting. And in the 4 years since then, we've seen Georgia and its voting be at the center of a lot of discussion around how the country is run. So we have an upcoming production about Fannie Lou Hamer, who, of course, historically, well, not let me say, of course, because maybe everybody doesn't know, but in the 1960s spoke at the Democratic National Convention. And although Lyndon B. Johnson interrupted her speech, but she was really fighting for the Black people of Mississippi to be given delegate spots. And she worked a lot, all through rural Mississippi, getting people registered to vote. Mississippi is still very much a Black state, and it has had white representation for far too long. So we are trying to take a story like Fannie Lou Hamer's and then reinvigorate people to get out and do the thing, inspire that civic action to say, this is why voting is important. We can't have people like Herschel Walker, who are really only out there for the name recognition and the opportunity to see like his buddy Trump, get to the highest offices of the land and then not do stuff, right? Like, so we really want to find ways to inspire people to learn more about what's happening, stay informed, fight the good fight, and elect people that are going to represent their best interests. And we are trying to do that through art. And we understand that it's just part of the conversation. And that's why we do things like our community conversation series, where we bring in other nonprofits, other civic leaders, and we have them speak to the issues that our plays bring up. We're not going to stand up on a table and say like, hey, we understand all of the aspects of civic discourse. What we can say is that we have this art product that we believe will invite more people to it, and then use the civic space of the theater, the fact that everybody's sitting together in the same room, having a shared communal experience, a shared live experience. There's nothing like that. And we believe we can harness that power to create more interest in the daily lives of cities, of counties, of states, and of nations.
Amen.
Amen. Amen. Amen. This is why we do Aftergate.
This is Artivism 101, in case y'all ain't know.
In case
now
y'all
you know.
Now you know. And I definitely can attest to the artistic excellence of your productions. I've gone to, I think, maybe 3 shows, and looking forward, I will definitely come check out that Fannie Lou Hamer. I'm a big fan. So I will be there and will be coming with my folk.
Is there a timeline for that? Is there a timeline for when that's going to be on?
Yeah. It'll open in June, in the middle of June. It'll be from June to July down in Atlanta, and it's going to tour. So it's going to be in Louisville. It'll be at the Actors Theater Louisville, and it'll also come to Pittsburgh. So over the next 7 months, you'll be able to see it on a couple of different cities.
Well, we'll definitely need those tour dates, because lately I've been in Atlanta a lot. I'll be back up next month, next month, and June, July sound like a good enough reason to come up again for
as well.
But I'm also going to put in your ear, I don't know how you pick tour sites, but Miami is in great need of Black theater. And I just happen to know a few folk in that lane that, at the least introductions could happen, because I think you'd sell out down here. And I think that there's a sub-woke down here that I think your type of platform will really engage folk in ways that they ain't ready for. So just putting it out there in the
I'm all
universe.
about that. Thank you. I appreciate that.
So give us a sense of how you became who you are right now. Walk us through this journey. Give us the highlights in terms of you graduate from Colgate. How do you get from Colgate? What are those stops to get to where you are right now?
Yeah, you know, I mean, I definitely want to make sure I say it at the top, just in case, you know, like the charge is to my head, not my heart, of so many people that supported me throughout this, you know, Colgate alums, family members and stuff like that. But so at Colgate, I said I wanted to be an orthopedic surgeon, and I still thought that after completing some pre-med requirements that, you know, maybe I'll give this other life about 5 years, and then I'll try to go back to medicine post-bac or whatever. But as I got into my senior year, I really thought that there was an opportunity for me, like in higher education. I was really thankful for a good Kappa brother now, Ernest Daly, and amongst others who were really like inspiring to me and helped kind of get me on the right course, because it was real easy. I could have got pretty lost at Colgate, and they kept me kind of focused. So I'm really thankful for Ernest amongst others. So as I started thinking about higher education, man, I recognized that I was actually punking myself a little bit, that I wasn't believing in the art that I had been creating. I was trying to find a safe landing spot. So I applied for a position, a summer position at Arena Stage in Washington, D.C., and they turned me down. But they said that if I was interested, for $250 a week, I could work there for the full year, starting in the fall. But I had never moved to DC. I never lived in DC. But my roommate at the time, Jordan Scott, who was a star player of the football team, his mom taught at an elementary school. And then my other roommate, Gabby Barrow, her mom lived in Silver Spring. So just the two of them and that Colgate connection, I was like, well, at least I got a place to stay. I got another job. So I worked at the Before Care program at the elementary school in Southeast DC from 6:30 a.m. to 9:30 a.m. Then I would go drive myself over to Arena Stage at 10 a.m. and I'd be there till 6. I was in casting and producing. So I had to go out and see at least 3 to 4 shows at a time a week. So I was doing that from like 7:30 to like 10. And then, you know, I was still a 22-year-old. So I was out partying till, 2:00 in the morning, trying to get up at the elementary
DC
school.
is a party city.
DC, listen, and I had just become a Kappa too. So I was partying in DC, at 21, 22, 23 years old. But what I found in DC in an arena was, okay, there are a lot of new plays being created that all are about the stuff that I'm interested in. How can we tell a multitude of stories, especially from, BIPOC perspectives, to a larger American theater? And that's when I really got into new play development, new play producing. So my time in Arena, I got a fellowship with the National Collective of New Play Producers that took me out to Minneapolis. And I was in Minneapolis, Minnesota for 6 years. That's when I founded an organization called the New Griots Festival, which was a Black arts festival, and really just started getting better as a director, getting better as a producer, getting better as somebody who could speak up for communities and talk to communities through art. So my 6 years in Minneapolis really were pivotal for me and giving me the confidence that I felt like I needed to continue on. Luckily, during my time in DC, I met a mentor of mine named Kenny Leon, who right now is one of the most decorated Black theater TV directors, theater directors. He's a multiple Tony Award winner, but also is a TV and film director. I met him early in my time in Arena, and we kept in contact. And like, to his credit, although he, was a reluctant mentor in the sense that, he was just a busy person and didn't really see himself as a mentor. Anytime I text, anytime I called, he would answer and respond back. I mean, this man was winning Tonys, and I'm texting him, hey, congratulations. And he's texting me back, hey, thank you, brother. Right. So like, that meant a lot to me. And I saw him, it was important to me because as a straight Black man, I didn't see a lot of other straight Black men in theater. So that let me know that actually I can be in this business. So it just on a random check-in with him, he was letting me know that the theater that he started in Atlanta, he was thinking about how do we grow it. And he asked me if I'd be willing to come down to be his associate artistic director at Kenny Leon's True Colors Theater Company in Atlanta. And that was like 2016 when we started that conversation. So I ended up moving down there in 2017. And after a year of working underneath him, he asked me if I'd be willing to take over the company from him. So that was announced in 2018, and I officially became the artistic director in 2019. So this is my third season doing it. Most of it has been within a pandemic, but I feel really proud of the work that we've been able to do, the ways in which we're trying to correct some of the challenges with the American theater, but more specifically, the ways in which we're trying to engage the community at large using art as an entryway. We work with students. We have an amazing high school competition. So we're trying to affect our community from the little babies to all the people who, are the octogenarians, right, and above. So that's the short part of the journey. I mean, if we want to talk about ways that I failed, man, I got fired from, arena stage, and I got told by, the white guy that was in charge of me at the time that I was getting too big for my britches because I was making those connections to Kenny Leon and other Black artists trying to advance my career. But, they wanted me to, stay meek. Right. And I've been out of work. I remember crying to my mom saying, hey, I'm way too talented to be broke the way that I'm broke. And, shortly after that, I got the biggest directing opportunity of my life. And it was right at that 5-year mark where I was like, all right, cool. Am I going to go back to medicine? And things broke that way. So, I do believe in a higher power. So I believe God had always been just putting things along my way. I've recognized now that football was just a vehicle to get me at Colgate, and Colgate was just a vehicle to get me to live my purpose of finding ways to speak to people. I've always been interested in talking to community, and art was just the way in, and not through politics or religion or anything like that. So yeah, I mean, it's been ups and downs. I'm happy to be experiencing a couple of ups, but definitely feel like I was pushed through the crucible a couple of different times, and those downs really shaped how I show up.
And to your reference about giving thanks to the Almighty, I recently heard a quote sharing it with folk that when things happen that we don't understand why and how, there's no such thing as coincidences in life. It's just God's way of remaining anonymous. And I've been rocking with that line because I start reflecting on all the things that you try to bring reason and rhyme to, and look how coincidental, and you realize, nah. Even this opportunity right now to be sitting with you is all predestined and determined. So we are blessed to have this forum. And so with that reflection on your journey, awesome. Kudos to the failures, because they just build us as men and build character. With that being said, what would be the advice you would give to Brother Jude at 17, 18, coming out of Tallahassee, going into Colgate? What would be those words of wisdom? And then fast forward 4 years, graduating Colgate, what would be your words of wisdom to Brother Jamil entering the world in hindsight?
I think I spent too much time, especially my freshman year, sophomore year, trying to be somebody that other people wanted me to be. I just, and some of that's just youthful, right? Like some of that is college, right? But I didn't really like kind of sink into my own until later in my college experience. Maybe even took some time after I graduated. So I would just encourage myself to not be like I had to prove to people that I was cooler than what I was, because I was already cool enough. I was already good enough to do what it is that I was sent there to do. Again, some of those things I learned a lot better, right? You know what I mean? Like I fumbled the bag on this, amazing sister. I won't say her name because I know she done moved on with her life and I have too, but I fumbled the bag on that one. And I was really on some I was trying to impress other people as opposed to impressing the woman who I had already impressed. You know what I'm saying? So that's what I would tell myself going into college. Just slow down, be yourself, and that's going to be enough. I think post-college, I would tell myself just to stay the course, not to get too bugged out by the highs and the lows. As you saw other people accomplishing things, right? We went to a school that boasts about the median mid-career income of its graduates, like, and a lot of my friends were leaving college and landing big time jobs. And, I'm struggling to, make 25, 30,000. I told you, I make $250 a week for 52
Do the
weeks.
math.
You know what I'm saying? And I was working at a before care program making like, I don't remember what Miss Scott was paying me, but like, $10, $13, something, not huge, right? At the time. So, and I was, spending a lot of money in DC. So like, I wasn't making a lot of money. And I think that as I looked around, I said, man, I told y'all, I just mentioned it. Like, I felt like I was too smart, too gifted to be so broke. And not feeling like I'm having the career success that I was seeing other colleagues have. So I would just continue to remind myself to stay the course, and what God has for me is for me. It's something I still say to myself now, even, here at 30, 35 and feeling good about my career when I see other people who are in my age range or what, and they have like, oh, cool, they got a big opportunity, or they're directing someplace bigger than what I am. I'm like, I just got to remind myself that what God has for me is for me, because he continues just to show up and show out and let me know that I put you in that position to affect the people that you're affecting. And it continues, like, I get those constant reminders of like, oh yeah, that's why you're here. So just stay in the course.
That's what's up. That's what's up.
Awesome.
So as I listen to what you're doing now, and then also layer it to what your Colgate experience was, you are one of the rare guests to where their Colgate experience somewhat aligns to what they're doing now. Many of our guests, what they did at Colgate, drastically different than what they're doing now. I don't know if it's a liberal arts institution. You just go out there and you kind of do something different. I don't know if it's bad advising, because many of us aren't getting the professional development advice that we need to get, or it might just be the luck of the draw, right? But I'm curious. My question is, when you look at your time in terms of what you did at Colgate and compare it to what you're doing now, is there anything you wish you did more of? Is there anything you wish you had experienced while you were at Colgate that might have prepared you a little better for what you're doing right now?
Yeah. Yeah. That's hard for me. Because I think I'd want to say, I'd want to take more theater classes, but actually I think the fact that I was a relative theater novice was a boon for me in my career. While I had to fight some imposter syndrome as I was getting opportunities faster than maybe some other colleagues, and I didn't feel like I knew as much. Like, I wasn't a theater kid growing up. I think I remember seeing Grease the musical when it toured through Tallahassee, but like, I didn't really know a lot. So I want to say maybe knowing more about theater, but not really. And I think it was thankful to, like, professors like Nisha Thapliyal and Professor Palmer and others in education and race and education classes that actually got me thinking more about just some of the social inequities. So no, I don't think I do anything different. I may have paid attention more in maybe my econ class, but that would be about it.
So our final question is, in many ways, why we do this, which is giving our guests, alumni of color, an opportunity, a platform to promote an initiative, an opportunity, organization, something that you can put out into our network that you want to encourage people to support you in, or support this effort. And so here's your time to shout out your social media, website, whatever, in terms of that's coming down the pipeline that you would love the Aftergate folk to take advantage of.
Yeah, definitely. One thing I do want to just shout out before I go into, all that stuff is like, I'm hoping that Colgate students reinvigorate urban theater. Like, I remember it like kind of dying off a little bit after we graduated 2009. I don't remember how much longer it went to, but like, man, it meant so much to me. And I know Will and Rodney and Ramon and others, like so many people came through urban theater from when it was founded. I believe it was founded like in the late 90s or something like that, and kind of carried on. And it, because the university theater, and that's something I will stand on the table to this day, and I've had conversations with them. The university theater is doing a poor job in training actors of color, artists of color, with the way in which they're continuing to promote like this Eastern European style of theater. Not to say that that's not of value, but I don't know that we're actually preparing those students for what's going to happen when they get out into the world. So like, I'm hoping that student groups, which is what they do, is that the student groups provide other opportunities for those kind of kids. So I will continue to rail against it, and they know where to find me. I've spoken on panels, and I say it to their face. So I will take every opportunity to say we got to do better as a theater training program.
Awesome.
As far as what I'm doing now, I ask people to support me. My Instagram is at Mr. JD Jude. That's the same as my Twitter. That's the same as my Facebook, at Mr. JD Jude. That's my email. If you want to hit me, at Mr. JD Jude at gmail.com. And then my theater work. I work for True Colors Theater. That is my main gig. I love it. That's truecolorstheater.org. We spell theater, THEATRE.org. So truecolorstheater.org. On Instagram, we're at True Colors Theater. You can find us on Facebook at the same thing. And on Twitter, it's at KL True Colors. So I'm just I love the work. I mean, I'm so thankful that I wake up and I do everything that I want to do, and everything that I've learned throughout my life, I utilize it every day. So yeah, if you are interested in supporting the work of an amazing Black theater, support us at truecolorstheater.org. And if you just want to know what's happening with my life and my family, my kids, my wife, follow me on at Mr. JD Jude.
Before I close out, let me just say thank you for coming on the show. Appreciate your support. Appreciate you making time. And also, I just want to thank you for continuing to inspire this generation, future generations, continuing to be a presence in this community. And we're all folk who are dedicating our life to changing the lives of youth. That to me is meaningful. And so I just thank you for that and applaud you.
I appreciate y'all, man. This was a lot of fun. I'm just like, it's good just to talk about, those experiences and how those experiences are paid off. And I know oftentimes like Colgate alumni of color, like a lot of us have poor experiences of their time at Colgate, and like I'm hoping to go back and make that a better experience for the current students. And because I was thankful. I was one of the lucky ones that had a positive experience of my time at Colgate, and anything I can do to speak to what it was like for me, but more so speak to the world in which we want to see at that university, so more people can have positive experiences. Any chance I get, I'm thankful for that. So just thank you, brothers, for inviting me here to talk a little mess with you.
So this has been another episode of Aftergate Season 2. Thank you to our guests. Thanks to our listeners. Aftergate is always powered by the Defy Life Network. Make sure you check us out in the future for more dope podcasts. Peace, family.
Peace.
Shh. You hear that? Listen closer. That, my friend, is the deafening sound of focus. It drowns out all the useless noise that can clutter the moment. Naysayers don't exist. Haters? Smaters? The peanut gallery? Who's that? When you in your zone, all that noise and all that buzz is just elevator music. So, enjoy your journey, focus on your goal, and bask in the quiet roar that is progress. Because when it's your time to shoot that shot, spit that verse, or close that deal, the only voice that matters is yours. Defy Life.